Good morning. Today on Spotlight, a conversation with Michigan Governor Rick Snyder. Road funding, education, economic development, his urban agenda, and yes, even Cuba. Just some of the topics we'll tackle. And later, we'll wrap up 2014 on a high note, no pun intended. Straight ahead, will jazz us into the new year. It's Sunday, December the 28th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. Well, if you don't recognize the man to my left, you're probably Rip Van Winkle. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, my guest today on Spotlight. Governor, hope you had a Merry Christmas. You doing well?
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Chuck. It's time to be with family.
It is. And after the type of year that you've had and we've had, you need that kind of time to just sit back a little bit and take it all in.
Well, it's nice to catch up, and I wish I could be with them more. So this was a good opportunity to recharge and spend quality time.
Well, it's been a busy year. Before we get to the serious stuff, I saw that Christmas card with you with all of your culinary stuff on. Are you really a cook, or is that just fake?
Well, I'm not a professional class, but that's one of my hobbies. I love to cook.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
and
turkey,
you cook the Christmas
roast,
dinner
yeah,
right here?
Cooking Christmas dinner is something I look forward to and every year.
And everybody's still healthy, right? No,
They're all survivors in terms of my dinner.
All right, very good, very good. This past week, Governor, all the talk has been about road funding and what the legislature did and that all-night session that you went through. Everybody by now should know the nuts and bolts of it, but how are you going to sell this? Because you got to get out there between now and May and really convince the voters that another tax is in their best interest.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, Chuck, is when we were going through the process with the legislative leaders, we started by not saying we're going to take any one specific action. We said, what are the important things to accomplish? And that's what we need to get out to voters. And there were 5 things that were critically important. The first one is no one likes our roads, so we needed to get a significant amount of money to our roads.
You get an amen on that one.
That was over $1.2 billion a year more for roads. The second one is how do you do it in a way where you protect schools, local government, mass transit and rail, things like that. And what this proposal does is actually give $300 million to schools, $100 million to local government, and $100 million to public transit and rail. So it does that. The third thing is a lot of people were upset that we had the retail sales tax on gas, the 6%.
Right.
So they were paying money that wasn't going to the roads when they're buying fuel. Well, this proposal eliminates the retail sales tax from fuel, and all the dollars, those increased dollars, will all go to roads. The fourth one is we didn't want gas prices to get too high because of too much in taxation. Mm-hmm. So in terms of compared to the average fuel cost last year, if you use the average gas prices, with the changes we're making, it's about 3 cents a gallon more, which is very reasonable and keeps us competitive with other states. The last one is when you change the retail sales tax, you create a larger tax burden on lower income people. So this includes $260 million of tax relief for lower income people. So this is a proposal that it's harder to do the process because it requires going to the ballot because we're changing the Constitution for the retail sales tax. But in terms of good policy, think about that list I went through, and we came up with a solution that does a good job on all those points.
Are we going to see Governor Rick Snyder standing up with Gretchen Whitmer, maybe doing some promotion on this and saying, whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, this is good for our state? Are we going to see that type of political posture?
I can't answer for Gretchen, but I'd be proud to do that because this was a good bipartisan effort of leaders from both chambers and both parties. This was the 5 of us working together to come up with a solution based on principle and good policy.
What if it fails, Governor? You've now basically given it to the people. There's no backup to this. The legislature could have done a backup so that if this didn't go through, you had something. It's all or nothing.
Well, my first choice was to do a backup, so it'd be a choice of which form.
But that didn't happen.
But that's part of compromise, and when I learned it wasn't possible, and it was clear it wasn't possible, we wanted to do something, because does anyone like our roads? And how many more years do we want to go through pothole seasons? And if you think about the timing of this ballot proposal, it's going to be in May of this next year, coming out of pothole season. And if we have anything like last year, which is likely to happen because we haven't been able to invest much more, we've been putting general fund money, but that's not enough. I hope people speak up and say, let's get the roads fixed, and also do these good things about helping schools, local government, and lower income people.
In May of 2013, we did polling with the Detroit Free Press through Epic MRA. At that time, we asked the voters whether or not they would go for a sales tax. 57% said that if it went directly to roads, they would go for it. We tested it again a year later in May of 2014, 52%. So it went down only about 5 points. But neither one was tied to education. This one is tied to education. Do you think that is going to increase the chances? Because Bernie Porn thinks that that might be the catch that makes people go for it.
Well, it could be very helpful. If you look at it, and we're talking a significant amount of money, because I said $300 million, but that's hard for people to relate to. To give you some idea, that would be equal to about $200 per pupil. $200 per pupil is a large increase in a relative sense to what's been happening in prior years. So this would be very meaningful.
All right, we need to take a little break. We'll hurry right back and we'll talk education. We'll be right back with Michigan Governor Rick Snyder. Don't go away.